Usually we start declining slowly at 30, and then after 40, 45, it starts dropping a little bit quicker. Having lower testosterone, once you get to a certain point, you know, that's why we fall apart. You know, our muscle mass goes down, our energy levels go down. We don't feel like doing the things we used to do. Trying to correct that just in general will make a big difference. You can't stop the aging process, but you could slow it down quite a bit if hormones are needed. But I'm seeing more younger guys come in than ever. Sedentary lifestyle, the food we eat, microplastics, if you want to get into that, that are just kind of crushing our system and causing things to kind of decline a little bit earlier. In those situations, you get younger men that come in that maybe their levels are low, maybe not clinically deficient, but there's medications we could use to try to get the body to kind of restart its own productions.
You're listening to Everybody Loves Naples, an unfiltered and educational podcast about living in Southwest Florida. We're your hosts. My name is Natalie Perez-Benatoa.
My name is Lance Martinicchio. From the best restaurants and things to do to our local real estate market, we're sitting down with local business owners and community leaders to provide a deeper understanding of what makes Naples, Naples.
Now let's get the show on the road.
We're here today with a special guest, for Jeff Delaney. Jeff helps a lot of men in Naples. So Jeff, you have two companies, I believe, down here, correct? And I'll let you speak to them and kind of, you know.
Yeah, so, you know, I've been in the health and wellness space for like 22 years now, more so with the company. My first company was New Life Medical Weight Loss, started up in Fort Myers in 2007. We grew pretty quick, opened up Naples. Nuviva Medical Weight Loss is more just medically assisted weight loss.
Medically assisted weight loss. Okay.
So a lot of people are like, what does that mean? You know, we're still focused more on nutrition, which is always the foundation and fundamental. Whereas a lot of places now in the world we live in, especially with a lot of the weight loss medications, everyone's just going for the quick fix. So, you know, I always look at it as like, if you don't fix the problem or you don't fix the most important thing that's going to do the most and make it long-term, it's not going to be long-term. So, we're really focused on nutrition and kind of changing the habits of the food. Now we can use cool things like, you know, Semaglutide or tirzepatide
to complement a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, just to try to give them, you know, there's things you could do to kind of cut the corners to make it a little bit easier to adhere to a program. You know, I would say there's a lot of people in the world right now with some of those medications just taking a lot and not eating, and I see a big problem coming. With a lot of people that are starving the weight off. And so there's a fine line between, you know, just not eating to lose weight and obviously fueling your system and losing fat versus muscle. So, you know, even though I'm weight loss, I always say we're fat loss. You know, you don't want to just lose the muscle tissue.
Yeah. And, you know, I think obviously that with the whole big trend now with the Ozempic and the semaglutide, I feel like it's just like everyone's doing it, everyone's trying it, but they don't know what they're doing or how to do it. And your company actually, you don't just give it out. You literally take people, you see if they're even a
candidate.
A candidate, yeah. Yes, that's what I was looking for. A candidate for it. So
yes, and like I said, for so many years we didn't use the GLPs. So, you know, a lot of times when a client will come in, we'll get blood work on them. Kind of take in their medical history, kind of see there's things that maybe need addressed initially. Sometimes it could be hormones. Sometimes it's just starting to fix whatever their problem was.
Eating fast food. Maybe.
Yeah, you know, a lot of it's more, I would say for us, you know, that first visit or the consultations, kind of like discovery time to see how they put the weight on. You know, there's certain things people do throughout life, whether it be they get busy, life, kids, work, school, they start skipping meals and, you know, body eventually just downregulates metabolism or types of food you're eating, you know. So we try to identify like what most likely the cause was for them and then start kind of laying out the plan that's going to correct some of that. You can't fix the bad habits overnight. So we kind of do it in phases through the program. And then obviously depending on the medical history of the client, we could add certain things to support them. We do try to, you know, we're all inclusive for the most part. So, you know, a lot of what they need to support them through that process, certain nutraceuticals, vitamin injections. But the key thing is really the coaching that happens. They're required to come in every single week. We make adjustments to what's going on with them. The accountability side when it comes to weight loss is really the make or break.
Yeah. So they're not doing it alone.
Yeah. Just having someone in their corner because, I mean, and I always say now it's getting worse because you have, you know, with online and social media and podcasts. It's like there's information overload. And so there's, and kind of over the last, I would say 2 years, I'm kind of starting to see a lot of people get into the space for the wrong reasons. And it's like people take it as gospel and they're doing crazy things. And, it's not hard. It's just understanding what to do. Most of us were never taught nutrition growing up. I always had a passion for it. But, going to school, you maybe at health class, and they talk about the food pyramid. Which is you have your pyramid, and outside of that, that was all you got. So, it's like we try to just go down to like super fundamentals and work out of that with the client. So.
Yeah. But I think every one of your clients it's not a one size fits all, right? It's more individually tailored.
Well, it has to be,
because everyone's different. I mean, everyone
responds different. Their metabolism's different. Medical issues depending on how far they've slipped backwards. So you definitely need to kind of find a more tailored approach to the person to get the best results for them.
And then they have to sustain it.
Yep.
You can do great for 3-6 months.
Yep.
But it's after that is the hardest part.
I think that's where the lifestyle changes have to happen, and it's showing, just showing people the right way to lose it versus just starving the weight off.
Right.
Because ultimately, if you do that, that's typically what starts that yo-yo dieting or weight cycling that happens in weight loss.
Sure.
So when we started back in 2007, I was mostly nutrition with a little bit of medical assistance. And then in 2010, we became a franchise. I actually had some clients that went through the program that had some other businesses, and they were on us to try to franchise. I really didn't want to franchise, to be honest with you, just because, what makes us really good, I found out really quick, it makes it hard for me to scale because, it's not cookie cutter.
Yeah.
If I was eat this and take this shot, like,
so tailored to the individual. And I'm sure, actually, I want to hear more about as far as like our age demographic here. We know Southwest Florida is getting younger and younger, but historically speaking, it's been a lot of elderly people looking, they have a healthy life. It's apparently a blue zone where we live.
Yeah.
And I know that.
A blue zone?
We are.
Yeah,
Do you know what
apparently
blue zone
so.
is?
No. Well, I wasn't gonna say politically.
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely.
I'm like, I was like, that's new to me. I prefer.
Definitely a blue zone for that.
No, not that.
But
Not that blue.
Yeah.
From what I understand, people looking, at Southwest Florida from an outsider looking in, they think of it as like a healthy place to live, and people care about their health, and they get outside and they have vitamin D, and a lot of us are into some form of health and fitness and a wellness community, so to speak. So to have you on is a treat because you get to see your clients, or I don't know if that's what you call them, but
I don't like saying patients, so I say clients.
So your clients, your clients on a day-to-day basis or week-to-week basis, and you get to be a part of that wellness journey, which I think for our listeners is awesome to hear someone from the inside, because like I hear about all kinds of, I'm sure we all do, like the Ozempic and this, and it's like I have personal experience where as far as weight loss and doing the quick tricks, it's never pleasant.
Yeah. Well, how you do it, and then ultimately, if it's done wrong, it becomes a harder task to be able to get done.
Right.
As things go. Definitely Florida is a blue zone, if you want to say that non-politically. It's, that's kind of what drew me here. I was born in Northeast Ohio, just not as active. Obviously, people, aren't outside as much.
Yeah,
obviously
miserable in the winter.
3 months of good and, rest.
It's more challenging to be active, right? When it's cold and miserable.
Yeah, I used to come down like every year and visit my grandfather. He actually lived in North Fort Myers, so we'd pack in the car and drive down. And, I remember it was like, I'm just like, man, this place is awesome. Everyone's working out and active and looks good. And I think it's, just in general, I think across the country, though, I feel like, ever since the C word, or if you want to say COVID, I don't know if it's going to mess up what you got going on, but it's,
this is an open forum.
Yeah. I just, a lot of people started, kind of focusing on what can I do to prevent something that, my body should be able to prevent. And so, I think the world we're in now is definitely more conscious of what they're eating and what's in their food, and trying to make some, the proper steps to be healthier. and just keep their immune system up. So I definitely like where it's going. I mean, this is my passion and love, just to see people get healthy. And obviously Naples, I feel like, Florida in general, but Naples is probably, in my book, probably one of the healthiest, prettiest places.
Oh, we
to
rank
be.
that every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Healthiest, happiest city.
I mean,
in the
that's why
USA today.
the name of the podcast was easy. Everybody loves Naples, prove us wrong.
Well, for years too, when I was down here, I think when I first went to Naples, I thought like it was going to be a lot of like
Old
retired
people.
clients, old,
Yeah.
the people that live down in,
God's
Port
waiting.
Royal. Yeah. Well, that's Port Charlotte. That's actually Punta, or not Port Charlotte. Yeah.
Punta Gorda.
I actually worked there at Charlotte Regional Medical Center when I first moved down to Florida. That was my first where I worked at a hospital, and that was God's waiting room. So I had to.
Did your services, right?
Yeah. It was just, I guess, just the population and just the age for me. I was 21 at the time, 22 at the time. So there wasn't much to do. I found myself either going to Naples or Sarasota to go do something, more so Fort Myers at that age. But
For sure.
as I get older, Naples, and I have clinics all through the state. So, at one point I had 18 Nuviva medical weight loss locations.
Wow.
With more on the books, had some issues with a company that helped us franchise, which was I always look at it as like things happen. It was a blessing in disguise, because I was able to kind of restructure. I had some franchisees that really weren't into it for the right reason, and it took me forever to get it to where the company was doing it how it should be done. Take care of the client, and the rest takes care of itself. And so I had to pull some licenses. I went down to 6. I'm back to 10. Really good clinics throughout the state. But I've seen the whole state multiple times. And so, like, honestly, there's no place like Naples. Like, I couldn't live on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Get it? The traffic's crazy.
I can hear arguments here.
No arguments here. So what do you think it is about Naples then? I mean, having that you're in an industry that's clearly not going anywhere, you're here to stay, but you've seen, like you said, the entire state, and sounds like most parts of the country. What in your eyes makes Naples so special?
Other than like the 2-3 months when it's really hot. No, I mean, honestly, as I get older, my blood is starting to thin, so it's not so bad now. I could tolerate it, but no, just Naples in general is groomed really well.
Yeah.
It's definitely getting younger, which is nice to see. It's not just retirees. I think you got a lot of people starting to move here with their families. It's just very, health conscious, active, very red. So, which is
Much
good.
about-
I mean, you got Seed the Table, which is known around the United States. I mean, it's just the group of people you get down here too. I think a lot of it ends up being, that North/Midwest.
Yeah.
People, I don't know where you guys are from. I don't want to knock where you're from, but like,
No,
like
but-
Ohio, Michigan, like it's just really good people.
I'm from Philly. So.
Yeah. Philly.
I'm from Naples.
You're Naples, born and raised. Okay.
Born and raised here.
My wife actually was born in. And
Oh,
raised
really?
here.
Nice.
Yeah. It's just, I just think it's thriving and just there's so much like, just there's tons to do.
Yeah.
Maybe
And there's
not-
enough not to do. If you don't want to do
no.
anything, you don't have to do anything.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It's like we all have to, for whatever reason, especially as a young professional, it's like it's always got to be busybody and I got to be at this thing to network. It's like, actually, I don't. There's plenty to just, because we like our life. And we talked about that with Stephanie when she was here. And we just like it here where you can, sure, if you're not a beach person, you
I
can
think we're
do
at the
something
point
else.
where, and you might be too, is we do these things when people come to visit.
Mhm.
Then we go out and do all
Right.
these touristy things, the boatings, the restaurants and stuff like that. But when we're just in our downtime, I'm just, either golfing or doing nothing.
Yeah.
So-
Well, my wife, it's funny you say that. My wife actually, it was last year. She was like, what do you think? Like, when we're ready to somewhat retire, like get in a place a little bit more north. I'm like, why? And she's like, well, you don't ever go to the beach. I was like, I like knowing it's here.
Yeah.
I just, I
never
might
go
not
to the
go.
beach.
I
I
hate
don't- I
being
don't know
sandy.
anybody
Like,
does.
yeah, but I was like, I'd rather be, at this beach. I mean, other than maybe Sarasota on this coast, Siesta
Yeah, I
Key
love
is
there.
amazing.
Yeah. I'm with you
If we could get some of that white sand down here, I think
Yeah.
it'd be absolutely perfect. But
for sure.
So I got a question because T Clinics USA, I'd like to
Yep.
talk a little bit about that. That's separate from your weight loss.
Yeah. So the weight loss is more Nuviva medical weight loss.
T Clinics USA.
Yep. So that's more overall wellness or men's
What's your
wellness.
logo?
Making men great again.
Yeah, making them great.
So for years, that started originally as like Naples testosterone, then Naples wellness, but I do more than just testosterone, and I help more than just men. So I
Yeah.
kind of softened it up a little bit, but I'm pretty.
Do you have to go general neutral now with the?
I mean, I did add I did add She Clinics USA, but it's
But
not
no they
not the
clinic.
transition or anything. We don't do any.
It's no they clinics USA.
But that business is more just checking overall, like lab work, hormones, a lot more hormone driven. I just saw a void in so many places, quick to put people on medications again, whereas like sometimes you don't need medication to fix hormones at a certain age. So sometimes we could use medications to try to like help boost our body's system to do what it should do.
Yeah. And I mean, people just change as you get older.
Mhm.
Things just stop working or you stop producing.
Yeah.
And
Can you
so
give us like an example of a situation like that where instead of a medicine you may gear someone towards something different?
Well, typically, guys start declining when it comes to like testosterone, our primary hormone, which is testosterone, females is estrogen. Usually we start declining slowly at 30, and then after 40, 45, it starts dropping a little bit quicker. Having lower testosterone, once you get to a certain point, that's why we fall apart. Our muscle mass goes down, our energy levels go down. We don't feel like doing the things we used to do. So, trying to correct that just in general will make a big difference. You can't stop the aging process, but you could slow it down quite a bit if hormones are needed. But we get a lot of guys, and I'll tell you, I'm seeing more younger guys come in than ever that have low testosterone, and they're not something they did to themselves, just sedentary lifestyle, the food we eat, microplastics, if you want to get into that are just kind of crushing our system and causing things to kind of decline a little bit earlier. And so in those situations, you get younger men that come in that maybe their levels are low, maybe not clinically deficient, but should be much, much higher per their age. And they feel like a 40 or 50-year-old man that's not fixing his issue. So there's medications we could use to try to get the body to kind of restart its own production. So, that would be one of the common situations. You have a younger guy, because if you do go on testosterone, it is more of a long-term type thing for a guy. Once we supplement what our body, is doing, our own production will go down further. So a lot of times with someone younger, you don't want to just kind of shut them down and potentially shut down for fertility. So, we'll try to recover or boost it back. Some of it could be, maybe it's not hormones, and maybe, their function's normal. We could get into things like peptides to try to get them sleeping better, recovering better. Their nutrition, obviously you lose a little bit of weight, makes a difference. I guess I started getting, years ago, and kind of what forced me to get in this space is just seeing people very cookie cutter with how they treated the client coming in, whereas like just focus on the client and fix. Sometimes it's small little adjustments and things will get back or balance. So just do what's right for the client and make sure that you kind of have their overall best interest when it comes to long term. So if a guy wants to keep fertility open, you can fix it without having to shut down their fertility.
And that's
That's
kind of the same
fascinating.
process you have with your clients there. You monitor their blood work.
Yep.
You kind of check in kind of type thing where they're not just on their own, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, the testosterone done wrong could create problems. Female hormones even more so, and that's kind of the side of things with the world we're in now, with people trying to be healthier. You have a lot of, and I just speak in general, but like
Yeah.
they're putting females on hormones that maybe don't need hormones, and females, there's a lot more potential risk that comes up if they're not managed right. You can't cookie cutter. Guys are pretty simple to manage. Girls are a lot more difficult in more ways than
Sounds like in
one.
general.
Just across the board.
Guys are
Yeah.
simple. and-
Absolutely.
But there's a lot more risk with females, so it's trying to check the other boxes, because sometimes it might not be direct hormones. So
So you have female clients as well?
we do. We actually, for T clinics, I'll handle everything up till female hormones. We'll still check everything across the board on a pretty extensive lab.
What?
and then see where we could start making corrections. Now, if it's something more advanced, I do have a couple physicians that I refer to that I trust
Hmm.
with female hormones. But what I was getting back to is you have places putting like pellets in females, and they're creating problems like cervical cancer, uterine cancer,
Yeah.
breast cancer. And so it's like they could have done like ABC before they went to Z.
Right.
So, just trying to catch that, just once again, just do what's necessary versus just
Overdo
trying to
it.
get everybody as a client.
Sure. Because I feel like, at least in my age range right now, I have friends who are either having issues getting pregnant or they were on birth control for a while. And then I hear they have PCOS and all these, these crazy stories, and they happen more frequently now than ever. And I'm curious as to, like, do you see that in our area, like women coming to you for that? Is that something someone could use you for?
As far as for, once again, we would look and see what's going on,
Okay.
and per the medical situations that are happening. And then if it's something that we can't directly fix, we usually can put them with someone that's
Yeah.
going to probably most likely fix the problem.
That's great.
So, but that, you were talking about labs. We try to monitor frequently. A lot of people go blind about their health until something happens, and I always try to just remind people, like, get a snapshot at least once a year when you're
It's
healthy.
easier to maintain it than to
Yeah,
correct
be
it.
proactive versus reactive.
Yeah.
So is testosterone, is that, and I guess every hormone, I know that certain blood tests, that's how you scale where the testosterone is and where it could improve.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, and obviously guys were pretty simple: testosterone, estrogen, and then
Yeah.
you can see what the testes are doing. For females, you got to look at more progesterone and testosterone, estradiol. There's a little bit
Right.
more things you got to keep in balance. So
It's crazy. I feel like,
God forbid something goes out off balance in a woman.
I mean,
yeah, but I feel like once again, a lot of the problems that people run into could be delayed or mitigated. If they're they would stay on top of like the easy stuff, the stuff that's going to kind of control
yeah.
90% of the problems, which is, I would say, food, nutrition
Yeah.
first, physical activity. It's like those are things
Sleep,
that are free.
right?
Sleep,
Yeah.
hormonal
health.
yeah, those are things that are free. I was talking to Lance, the other day, just about, like, I get frustrated when, just everyone trying to just push their product or push their service when it's not needed. And it's just, I don't know. I think people need to just do their due diligence and be educated. And, there's a lot of now self-proclaimed, I don't want to say it like
Gurus?
expert
Yeah.
gurus in the business. And, I've been at this for some time. It's just, my goal is just, sometimes you get people that don't need anything.
Right.
It's a couple of tweaks of something they could do outside of there. It's just, but don't go blind about it.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on it.
So I guess with the the whole semi-glutide trend and fad and everything, like
AKA Ozempic, right?
Yeah.
Ozempic,
Okay.
yeah. So where do you see, I guess, because I do believe no one knows exactly, because there's no long-term health studies,
Yep.
like if it's going to affect anything in the long run,
So, I mean,
right?
well, so that's kind of like, it's actually a peptide, right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of,
So what is a peptide?
so peptides, that's kind of like the big buzzword now.
Yeah, like
7,000.
care with
Yeah,
peptides.
you could
like,
do copper, GHKCU. And so the
Right.
peptides are like proteins or chains of amino acids that initiate responses in the body that aren't happening or typically start going down as we age. So peptides are really safe if they're applied right, but that's also like the application of which one. I do feel like there's a lot of peptides out there that are great in rodent studies, but don't do much in humans. So it's, making sure, depending on what the problem is like, hey, my sleep sucks. Well, if depending on your age, your growth hormone could be going down. You could use a peptide to stimulate your pituitary to put out more growth hormone. You sleep better, recover quicker, get leaner. I mean, I have a lot of younger guys that come in that just getting that fixed, and then their testosterone goes back up. So
Wow.
it's, one little thing could throw other things off. But peptides, like I said, they're aminos or chains of amino acids that
And
are
how are they taken?
natural.
Are they injectables or?
So there's different forms. Some you could actually use orally. There's some you could do topically. I actually started using a copper one. I don't know if it's working or not, but it's
Looks
a
great.
facial cream.
Did you bring that here today?
I'll
Where
bring-
can I go get
I'll
some?
bring you some by.
Every time I edit, or every time I look at these episodes, I'm like, huh, you know what I mean?
So, but there's peptides that help like skin. BPC 157 is a healing peptide that initiates repair response in the body. So a lot of people with osteoarthritic issues, you could kind of start decreasing inflammation. I actually been on it for that one for probably 14 years.
Wow.
I have a lot of issues just through like sports and whatnot. And if you do the oral form, it actually heals gut lining. And a lot of our guts are pretty messed up.
Yeah.
You
Which one is that?
BPC 157. So it's actually it's a gastric peptide. Actually, we have it in our gut, but we kind of have less of it as we get older.
And that helps your muscle recovery from injury?
So it's going to help all inflammatory processes in
Okay.
general. So like, I've used it for years for like diverticulitis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, leaky gut.
Wow.
So you're able to kind of heal gut lining. You remember our gut's our second brain. If you heal your gut and fix inflammation in the gut, systemic inflammation comes down. And then once again, going back to like just inflammation starts a lot of disease processes. So, that's a really safe peptide that you could do just to kind of cover. I always say like BPC out of all the peptides is, if you ever seen the Big Fat Greek Wedding and like when there was an issue, you put Windex on it.
Yeah, totally.
BPC is like Windex. It
Wow.
has so many benefits across the board. It works really well. But
And is that something you sell in your shop?
so it still has to be from a pharmacy.
Okay.
So a lot of times we would still need blood work and see obviously what issues are going on or
Sure.
if there's a necessity to use it, but very low to no risk. My son takes it. But there's
How old's your son?
he's actually gonna be 14 coming up.
Oh.
So
Wow, testosterone's brewing.
yeah.
Brewing.
Yeah, I've been he's finally starting to like wanting to be active and exercise, so it's kind of good. I've been
That's great.
for a while, but going back to the peptides though, because I don't want to like
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
a whole question is so the GLP-1 peptides, basically glucagon like peptides, so semaglutide, tirzepatide. So most people know semaglutide as like Ozempic or Wegovy. And then you have tirzepatide, which was known as Mounjaro or Zepbound. Those peptides actually initiate or stimulate the pancreas to improve the B cell. So it helps the pancreas work better. A lot of people who are either type 2, and it came to the market for type 2 diabetes. And so, whereas you would take insulin, the pancreas doesn't really have to work. Or if you take metformin, you could help it out a little bit. These stimulate your pancreas to work better. So when carbohydrates come in, you're able to actually use the carbohydrate or the glycogen or the sugar and let it get used by the cells of the body. Most people who are type 2, they've heard the term like insulin resistant. And so a lot of times carbs come in, pancreas doesn't work.
It just sits
And
there.
then your blood sugar just starts rising and it creates a lot of other problems. So it's really safe. It's just the application. I always say the poisons in the portion, when it comes to certain things. So as far as semaglutide or tirzepatide, the side effect is why people are kind of flocking to it. So one of the side effects of semaglutide or the GLP-1 peptides is it slows how fast food moves through your gut. The slower food moves through, actually you're not as hungry.
Yeah.
And then if your blood sugar's stable, you don't crave sugars like you normally would. And then, it does have some capability to occupy like GLP-1 receptors in the brain, which actually is kind of like your satiety side.
Sure.
So it has a lot of benefits. It's just where I think a lot of the world is running into problems right now is the application, because you're getting people that are non-diabetic taking this peptide, taking it diabetic dose, which is a standard from the manufacturer, and they're having some issues. Maybe like if they take too much, they're not eating.
Right.
They're losing a crap ton of weight, but they're losing a lot more muscle tissue. That's kind of one of like the not so harsh one. They're getting constipated. They could have, gastroparesis where it stalls the GI tract from taking too much. And a lot of this we try to screen up front before we even put them on it, but we don't start at standard dose. So once again, it's the poisons in the portion and how much and how it's applied. So.
Right. And I would think the challenge with that, right? It's like, the side effect of coming off of it. And then that would be my fear, right? Is like, how fast does all that that craving come? Because that can be overwhelming emotionally as well. Like, never mind the body, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And so that's where I'm starting to see, I've been saying this for a while, and I've been saying it on my podcast, it's the way it's being used, it's going to create a bigger problem. And I'm already seeing that we're having to fix things or do the cleanup because they're taking it. They're not hungry. They're not eating. They're losing a lot of weight, but they're losing more muscle, which is our metabolism. That's kind of like, our engine.
Yeah.
And so they get to where they're done. I look at it this way as like a non-invasive gastric bypass or sleeve. Because when people get that, they're not hungry. They're told not to eat. They're fine with it. And so there's this, you have to have a certain amount of nutrients per your body to be able to preserve the right stuff. And so people are losing all the stuff,
Right.
and then they're getting a Ozempic butt. They obviously they're coining all that.
What's
really,
Ozempic butt?
so you haven't heard that, like, it's going
I don't
around,
either.
like, so everyone's been worried, like, am I gonna get a Ozempic butt or a Ozempic
Just like you
face?
lose your
Well, think
You
about it,
sag,
it's
right?
not from the Ozempic. It's from them not eating. They're losing muscle tissue. They lose
Yeah.
their muscle tissue. They lose their butt. They get Ozempic face. They're losing structural fat. When you starve,
Are
your
they not
body-
working out while they're like?
Well, I mean, we recommend it. But
Yeah,
The
yeah.
But it'd be hard
masses.
to- it'd be
listen,
hard to work out if you don't have food in your system,
well,
right?
and the problem is I think everyone's going for the quick, easy. It's like
Yeah.
they
Drives
just-
me
they
nuts.
don't want to. And listen, it's not easy, but it doesn't have to be hard to like learn a better way to eat to support your body or get a little bit more physically active. But everyone, that's the world we live in. Everyone wants the
Sure.
quick, fast, easy.
I-
And so
I could see it being very beneficial for someone who is overweight and it's harder for them to do fitness and have an exercise routine because they're more prone to injury, right? So
Yep.
it's like lose some of that weight so you can go for the longer run or lift a heavier weight to kickstart your new fitness routine that is going to be the full-time solution. Because this drug, and I feel like there's so many more benefits than what I guess I'm hearing and seeing. And it's just when people who don't need to take it are taking it, I'm like, come on, guys.
I mean, I'll tell you, it definitely, out of anything I've seen since I've been in more medical weight loss, applied right, I've not seen anything be able to do what this has done. Not so much for the action. Yes, you could fix your blood sugar a lot quicker. It's just, it done right, it gives people the willpower to actually adhere to a plan because maybe they've
Yeah.
tried so many times and they weren't able to do it.
It tricks your brain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it tricks your brain, but it takes away I always say the dieting noise.
Yeah.
That, like, if you're, you crave sugar all the time and or, you do good for 3 days and then you fall off because your willpower and discipline's not there. And so, but it's also creating what I'm seeing now, and I see it happening even more so, is people are going to come off. They didn't change their lifestyle. They didn't, well, one, they lost it the wrong way. So that's going to even make it 10 times worse.
Yeah.
But they didn't change the lifestyle. They didn't lose it the right way, which is obviously if you do it the right way, that's more food you could eat to manage your weight when you're done, which is I'd rather eat more food than not eat at all to not gain weight. Right.
Right.
So, it's how it's one taken off, but then when they're done, if they don't have any structure or what they're supposed to do, it's going to come back and it's going to come back worse, just like a gastric bypass or sleeve.
Sure.
It's just, I wish there was an easy way. I wish I could patent something that
Yeah.
was easy peasy done. Unfortunately, and people are probably like nothing's ever going to supersede like a proper nutrition and physical activity.
Right.
It
And
really- yeah. I mean, that's just.
yeah, I can imagine it like messes with the hormones then again,
Well, I mean,
especially
yeah.
for women.
Say you tear through muscle and like you stress your system, and say you have side effects or you're not eating enough, or
Right.
it creates other problems if not.
Cortisol crazy, I would imagine, without
Yes.
okay, that's a whole nother episode. So for everybody listening, Jeff has given a special offer to either T Clinics USA or Nuviva Weight Loss. For your first time, you get $100 off when you sign up for one of his programs. Mention Everybody Loves Naples for your discount.
So how about as far as are you still? I mean, you're big into bodybuilding as well.
I used to be. I did it
Kinda
more.
change it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I train just to train now. I've always, I always played sports. I played collegiate football and wrestled, and I got to the point, in my early 20s, I was like, well, what am I going to the gym for? And then I got married, and then I'm like, well, I don't need to look like, the typical, I already got her. So, it kind of just gave me something to kind of have. I always say you always have, no matter what you do in life, you have to have a goal. If you don't set a goal, you're just going to spin your wheels. So I try to put mini goals to everything I do, but that was one where it was kind of the world I live in and my passion, which is like the human body, more so nutrition. So it was a way to kind of like get meticulous. And so I did that for some years, just to kind of, I was my own guinea pig on a lot of things.
Too.
Yep. I used to compete at one point. I was at the national level. Not a healthy sport. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I'm into health and wellness, that's, it could be healthy, but that's kind of why I stopped, is like, you can only get to a certain level naturally. That's why I'm on hormone therapy, because I messed myself up early. It's like I kind of, everything I tell people not to do, I probably did. So,
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, right? Because it's like we all
well, you,
have done something that we're like, oh, you should do this, and then we do the opposite. But I've never heard anyone outright say what you just said, which is it's not a healthy sport.
well, I mean, think
Because
about it, like, and a lot of those guys are going unsupervised, and so hormone therapy done right is really healthy. But that's like the smallest amount. Those guys are doing 3, 4, 5, 10 times more and other things, and it's just, and then not to mention it's a very selfish sport. That's like all you do to you're constantly at the gym and exercise and cardio and your food,
it's
and
like ages you then, like your whole your
yeah,
skin, your right. I mean,
yeah. I'm only 22. I look like I'm 43. Friggin'
no, I think it's. I mean, it sounds like it's an awesome achievement every time I see someone doing these.
I mean, like the level of what I like about it
Discipline.
is the amount of discipline it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Was, and that's never been really a thing that I struggled with, but I liked it because not just everybody could do it.
Yeah.
And so, but
So-
once again, it's an unhealthy sport. I mean, there's ways to make it healthy. It was just a way to kind of
Right.
give me the purpose in the gym and purpose to eat
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah,
better.
but it's great because now you've been through all that and you know it, and so
Right.
it just helps you more in life now.
Yeah, I actually used to work with athletes more so sports specific before I got into more of that. Even before Nuviva, it was all, like football, baseball. And I never wanted to get into like the training side. It was more, I was always fascinated with how food can change you so quick and it changes your performance so quick. I mean, it's,
I mean, we are like engines.
Mhm.
The better you eat, the better you're going to perform. It's
Yeah.
just
You're
if
gonna
you
run,
eat
yeah.
crap, you're
Yeah.
going to fucking
Yeah.
to do anything.
yeah, I mean, you wouldn't take an Indy car and put,
Yeah.
85 in it,
Yeah,
So,
for sure. So as far as Southwest Florida goes, what do you do for fun around here?
work.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah.
other than probably working 80 to 85 hours a week, I
Close to that retirement yet?
honestly, I don't think I could ever retire. My wife jokes around. She's like, you're not going to ever retire. I was like, no, I'm looking forward to the day where I might go from like 80 to 40. 40 will be dropping.
It'll be like a
buckets.
part-time job, 40 hours a week,
Yeah.
right? It'd be like,
But it's hard because I understand, like, I don't know, I truly feel blessed because I do what I love, and like I get so much satisfaction out of like people making a change and improving like their longevity. So it's, for me, I don't feel like I work 80. I mean, sometimes I do.
yeah.
I go to the gym at 4 a.m. just to get it out of the way because it won't happen if I don't go then. So
Well, you couldn't perform at your level if you weren't healthy from the inside
Oh,
out.
there's
Like
no
that's
way
just
in
a
hell.
testament to what, right?
no, I mean, I feel 21 other than like maybe some of my joint stuff.
That's awesome.
But
Hell
yeah, no, there's no way I could do it if I wasn't on top of like, my nutrition. And not saying you have to be meticulous like a bodybuilder because I'm so not there anymore. I think you find consistency and compliance to a plan. I could give you the best plan, the best diet, the best drugs or whatever, but it's like, and you might not do it or you might do it short term, but if it's so far away from what you're going to do, I could give you a not so good plan, but let it be very close to where you live or what you're going to do. And just that consistency and compliance over time. I think a lot of people go into their weight loss journey or they set a goal for a wedding or they set a goal for, like a bachelorette party or whatever, and it's like they get down and then they just out of that, they go right back to the same crap. It's like, before you start, and I always, a lot of my clinics, I tell them like when they're with a client, it's like before you start this journey, like it behooves you to like do it the right way, but ultimately plan to change it afterwards. Because if not, it's only going to get harder and get worse as you go. And so you're like, if you don't plan to like truly make a change, don't even start the process. But I feel like everyone, depending on the person, how much weight they have or how bad a shape they are, I think they look at the mountain and they feel like it's not going to happen, or if they've already done it wrong so many times.
Yeah.
So it's like, just kind of forecast for them, but do it in little goals to just kind of keep them motivated.
Just start small.
Yeah.
Little
One habit at a time. That's kind of how I built the program was, it's like, I can't change all your bad habits overnight. I'm going to change one thing at a time.
And most people
Yeah.
probably just get overwhelmed and they end up doing nothing rather than starting small.
Sure.
That's probably.
Yeah. Well, and having the guidance and someone to coach you through it, like yourself and your company, is to say, we have the support and it takes off that stress, just a fraction of that person, that individual who's struggling,
Yeah.
essentially emotionally, physically with injuries or whatever.
One, I was gonna say on top of that, then you have like information overload. Eat this,
Yeah.
not that. Take this, not that. And it's like people get to the point where like, well, what do I do?
Right.
Like where do I start? And I when I say it's go back to fundamentals.
You know,
Yeah.
cardio. Then people, no, cardio is bad for you.
Yeah.
You need resistance. That's it's there's so much.
Fundamentals. I never feel
It's-
bad when I eat healthy and go even for a short walk outside. Like I never feel bad. Vitamin D,
Yeah.
movement, hydration. It's just sleep.
It's a little bit of each day. You're
Yeah. Yeah.
start slow.
So, is your son playing sports?
So he was playing baseball. He's played for the last 4 or 5 years. He's getting ready to go into high school. He kind of told me, well, obviously years ago, it's funny, because I played football and wrestled and whatnot. And he kind of, it was, he's like, I was like, you got to do something. You're going to pick a sport because you got to learn to, kind of work as a team.
Yeah.
And, you got to pick up something like a healthy habit 3 times a week. I don't care what it is, you could pick it. So at the time, I was like, you want to try football? You want to do wrestling? And one day he's like, I'm going to have to break it to you, tough dad. He was little at the time. I think he was like 8. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to play football or wrestle. I'm like, that's fine. Like, let's find a sport. So he ended up picking baseball because I
Nice.
told him if he didn't pick something, I was going to pick it for him.
But he likes it.
Yeah, no, he's done great. It's a little frustrating because he's a lot more genetically, athletically gifted than I was. I had to work really hard to be able to play at that level. And he could care less, and it's like, oh my God, just put just a little bit of effort into it. But so long story short, I was asked him if he was going to try to play in high school. He's like, no. He's like, I think I'm going to start working out with you. And I'm like, okay, like, sure, I'll help you out. And I was like, I'll teach you the ropes. And he says he wants to, kind of work in a similar type business. So
Oh, cool.
we'll see. I
That's
told him he has to
cool.
start by cleaning toilets. And stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Start in the mailroom, buddy. No.
So, what else do you do on the weekends if you're not working?
Usually
That's
once a week. Well,
He's just
yeah,
works.
I work.
get an answer out of
I usually go to the gym. A lot of times on the weekends, I try to. I think my wife's pretty healthy and kind of eats pretty good through the week. So usually once a week, we'll have a little bit of let loose time, and we pick somewhere else good to eat. And
Yeah.
we try to switch it up. My son usually ends up eating on his own because he wants either Culver's or Crust, which is amazing. I don't know if you ever had Crust Pizza.
One on 41.
Yeah, they're actually from Ohio.
Oh, is that right?
Their gluten-free pizza is by far better than most regular places pizza.
Oh my gosh, I have to try that.
It's really good. It's like a thin,
Another
like sticky
plug for
crust.
crust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we usually switch it up. Try to look for, whatever new restaurants come up. And
For sure. Oh, I love it.
so
I love it.
outside of that, just kind of hang out with the family on the weekend and back to the grind on Monday.
Nice.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was gonna say I've been busy because I'm actually finally I maxed the space out here in Naples, so I have this cool aftercare space to kind of bleed some of that traffic out. But for years, almost since 2011, I wanted to get a Dexas scanner, which is basically the gold standard for body fat composition. It's a bone density scanner.
Is that the machine where you hold the
No,
handles?
so those are actually impedance, and so they're not accurate at all. Like,
Ah,
I mean,
dang
you
it.
could do like, it all depends. Obviously, calipers, it depends on the person and the person doing them. But when you get into like impedance, for years they had the ones you held, right? Those things are so like 2-point impedance is not that accurate. You could, it's consistent if you do it at the same time to just kind of get some basic metrics. But they have, a lot of the in-body, I think it is. It's like a 4-point impedance where it covers your feet. Obviously measures the electrical current going through your body, and it'll give you a number. Dexas scanner actually scans your body. I can see visceral fat down to the decimal point. So
Wow.
it's almost like you could see your fat mass, your muscle mass. You could see bone density. And so it's just a better metric. For me, it's like I don't really need it, but I like it because I could show clients like true numbers when they start and finish. So it actually just got installed on Monday, and we'll be live with that. So the aftercare space is more like when they're done post program, like just kind of still stay in contact, make sure that they're not like slipping off or
Oh,
just
that's great.
because a lot of people tend to do good and they're fine, and then they do fine. And if you fix a lot of problems, but what happens with most people, it takes a long time to build those habits. And then all of a sudden life kicks you in the face and somebody passes away or something goes on. And it's so easy for most people to revert back to what was comfortable, normal, because they don't want to think about it in a stressful moment. So a lot of people backslide really quick. So the goal of that space is to get better metrics, add some cool stuff. but it's more so just to make sure we could keep tabs and just make sure everyone's still doing great on their own.
Nice.
That's great.
So for our audience, where could they find you on social media if they wanted to reach out or check out your companies?
Social media would be at T Clinics USA. And then for Nuviva, it's at Nuviva Weight Loss. Online, it's nuvivaweightloss.com.
Nice.
And the other one's tclinicsusa.com.
Nice.
So it's pretty simple. Yeah, straightforward. And then we have our podcast. I try to put a lot of free content.
You do a great job at that. And I had met you before today.
Stuff, just so you guys know, like I'm trying to make myself get more comfortable, but I'm big into, like, I don't try to sell anything. It's like give people the tools and resources. I try to I got some cool stuff coming out here, just showing how people tend to take what they see online as like gospel truth. And so just make sure people just think when they see something, or if it's too good to be true, like do your research, do your due diligence, and just make sure what you're about to do is going to make sense, so you don't lose money or don't lose your health because you did something wrong.
Honestly, I think, Jeff, what truly sets you apart in this community is the fact that you're not a salesman. You're not literally trying to just sell people and, collect money off them. You actually put in the work, you put in the time, and if it makes sense for that person, then, let's do this.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not going to just take everybody on.
It's
very respected in the
game. Yeah, you said that since the beginning.
So many people look at this short, and once again, like I'm doing what I love. So it's like just helping people. My dad was a youth pastor growing up, and he always said, just take care of people, have a servant's heart, and you'll forever be taken care of. And it's just, I just try to live true to that, and just try to do my best and treat them as I would want to be treated, or if it was my mom or my brother or sister. And just like I said, do the necessary. That whatever is needed is gonna change as we get older. So you just kind of check it off and keep tabs on it, and you roll with the punches as they come.
Yeah.
So
it was such a treat to have you on and to meet you today. Hopefully we can do this again soon. And check out T Clinics USA and Nuviva Weight Loss and Jeff Delaney.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Lance.